the Middle East, they call Egypt Dunya, the mother of the world. A country that for centuries has been the cultural and economic powerhouse of the region. At its heart lies Cairo, built by the Fatimid Caliphs to dominate the Nile and Red Sea trade routes. It is today a sprawling metropolis where a quarter of all Egyptians live and work.
In a city where rain is seldom seen, life is lived on the street. Every inch of the pavement is a marketplace. No one really knows the rules here, not even the police. Locals say it is Medina من غير catalog, or a city without a manual. This is street food, and this is Cairo.
In the Medina من غير catalog, there are no rules for crossing the street, parking your horse, and although blocking the pavement is rumored to be illegal, everyone does it, creating an endless bazaar where everything is for sale.
People in Cairo take their food seriously. Legend has it, Al-Hakim bi-Amrillah, the Fatimid ruler of Egypt, who built the imposing mosque behind me, was so fond of this leaf known as molokhia that he banned the rest of the country from eating it.
On the streets of Cairo today, molokhia is no longer banned, and people can enjoy a wide variety of foods. International food chains exist in Cairo, but they are mostly too expensive, and the locals prefer their own version of fast food. Selling on the street has always been a precarious life, especially for the street food vendors who cannot move their stalls without losing their customers. But now they face an additional challenge. In the last 12 months, food inflation across the world has led to an unprecedented rise in the cost of basic commodities.
Prices are a real problem. This chili oil used to cost me £10. Now it is 16. The beans used to be £3 a kilo. Now it is 6.
Times have changed and you have to rely on yourself. Things are getting more and more expensive. Life is unbearable. And so if I don't get up and fight for myself, I won't survive. And no one else will help me.
Wheat has been one of the commodities to be hardest hit, a particular problem for countries like Egypt, which rely heavily on bread. Ahmed sells bread on the streets and hears the daily complaints about the price rises.
We asked our president to look around, to take care of his poor people. There are a lot of people here on the streets who can no longer feed their families.
Bread from private bakeries now costs 25 piastres, approximately 5 cents for a small loaf, and up to 100 piastres for a large one, turning it into a luxury for many Egyptians, more than a third of whom live on less than $2 a day. The Egyptian poor have long survived on bread subsidized by the government, of lower quality than the private bakeries, but at 5 piastres a loaf, a fraction of the true cost.
Everyone else calls bread khubz. We are the only ones who call it aish, which literally means life or survival. This shows how important bread is for Egyptians. We eat on average 180 kilograms of bread a year, one of the highest consumption rates in the world.
Few men can claim to know more about the bread issue than Dr. ABDELSALAM GOMMA, a former president of the government's Agricultural Research Center who has spent decades studying how best to feed Egypt.
We have a high percentage of citizens with limited income. They are poor, so the government had to develop a subsidy system through which it can aid and support the people. This low price in government subsidy is in part responsible for our high consumption of bread.
The more bread Egyptians eat, the more it costs the government. And the more Egyptians there are, the more bread they will eat. The recent crisis cost an estimated $6 billion, and things will only get worse as Egypt's population expands beyond 80 million. But no government can afford to reduce the subsidy. When Egypt tried to do so in the 1970s, 70 people were killed and parts of Cairo burned. The recent rise in prices has again led to bloodshed, and many Egyptians hold their government responsible, despite the global nature of the crisis.
It is not accurate that the international inflation crisis is causing this problem in Egypt. Inflation in Egypt is caused by the greed of the businessmen, corporations, and the government, and by their desire to make more money. The bread problem in Egypt is caused by having a bad administration. We have a government that isolates itself from the people. I personally believe that this could lead to more than just a bread crisis. It could cause a state crisis.
MAHMOUD al-ASQULANY is a journalist and a founder of Citizens Against Price Rises, which is dedicated to protecting the rights of the poor. He argues that more subsidies are the answer.
If
the government really wants to help its people, it should help with all the basic necessities. With bread, with full beans, with lentils, with oil. The government cannot ignore this. We have warned them 1,000,000 times that this is a ticking time bomb, which will one day explode.
If things are hard for ordinary Egyptians, they are harder still for the street vendors who face a stark choice: raise their prices to keep in line with inflation and risk losing their customers, or keep them the same, diminishing their already meager profits. Fool, a dish made from the fava bean, is along with bread the staple for many. Like bread, its origins are ancient, and fava beans have been found in the tombs of the pharaohs. 4,000 years ago, fool was thought to be the best meal for a pharaoh to take on his journey to the afterworld. Today it serves a more prosaic, but no less essential role.
Fool is considered the favorite dish for all Egyptians because it is the only meal that truly fills the stomach of the working man. If a person is going to work in the morning, he is not going to last on biscuits, but fool will keep him going all day. I earn a different sum every day. Some days I make nothing. But on a good day, I can earn as much as 40 pounds or maybe 35.
35 Egyptian pounds, the equivalent of $7, is not a great deal for a job that swallows much of his life. But ABDULRAHIM considers himself fortunate. He dropped out of college in the hope of getting a job like this.
I went to business school, but I did not graduate. I felt it would be better for my future to start working and making money. At the end of the day, even if I had graduated from college, the salary I would make from a job wouldn't be enough to get by. I prefer to rely on myself.
Fast food plays an essential role in feeding people in Cairo. But Abdulrahim's stall is theoretically illegal and subject to seizure by the police.
I stand on my feet from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. It is very tiring. Not to mention the stress of knowing that the municipality could come and confiscate the carriage at any minute because we are not allowed to sell from the pavement.
Despite the long hours and increasingly limited rewards of selling food, Abdulrahim insists it is the best job he has had. At least he is his own boss. His dream is the dream of many street vendors, a place of his own, away from the threats of theft and confiscation.
Everyone has dreams and goals. And I have only one dream. And my dream is to open a small shop and do the same job I'm doing now. And I thank God for everything. And I don't want anything more than that.
One man who has fulfilled the aspiration of many street food vendors is Abu TAREQ. His three-story kushari restaurant, each floor run by one of his sons, is an example of what can be achieved from humble beginnings. The second floor is run by his eldest son, TAREQ. Giant photos of the founder gaze down on the diners. A website offers no false modesty. The best restaurant in the world. Even a song by the popular Egyptian singer Sha'ban Abdulrahim praises the delights of Abu TAREQ's kushari. Abu TAREQ keeps a plastic replica of his cart to remind himself of his days selling on the street.
After school each day, I used to go and help father with the stall. During my summer holidays, I loved it since I was a kid, and I used to watch him working all the time. I used to help him so I could earn pocket money. When he died, I took over his stall. Kushari is a popular dish. It goes back to the pre-Islamic days, when the Christians used to eat it at Lent.
A base of rice, lentils, chickpeas, macaroni, topped with spicy tomato sauce. It doesn't sound like much, but it is viewed as the most upmarket of street foods. Abu TAREQ still occasionally helps out behind the counter, a reminder perhaps of how his life used to be. But his chrome and marble restaurant has little in common with ordinary street vendors, and his views are equally different.
No matter how expensive life gets here, people can still afford food. Poor people can still eat. And the price rises are something general, not just here in Egypt. Nothing has changed for me so far. My prices are fixed, so I still get a lot of customers. If I were to put the prices up, no one would come to the restaurant. Besides, kushari is supposed to be for the poor, for people with limited income.
Costing between 75 cents and $1, Abu TAREQ's kushari is not really for the poor, even if the street stalls do sell it more cheaply.
My advice is take it one step at a time. They will face difficulties, but nothing comes easily in life.
But often, hard work is not enough. For every Abu TAREQ, there are 1,000 other vendors who work for years with little more to show for their labors than the carts they wheel around.